Hello friends, Philip coming to you from Chiang Mai in northern Thailand as usual. Now, when I was a young boy, my mum often used to tell me, ignorance is bliss. And clearly, you know, the idea was that what you didn't know, you couldn't be hurt by. But in today's age, I don't think this applies anymore, because ignorance is often, it's downright dangerous and even deadly. So I don't think it's an option, and the opposite is self-knowledge. And this is K for knowledge, self-knowledge, in my series of A to Z, learning to develop and love yourself. And today, self-knowledge. Already we've discussed self-inquiry, self-awareness, self-growth and self-healing. And the way self-knowledge works is it comes in the middle of all that. We begin with self-inquiry, we want to learn. We gain in self-awareness, and from the self-awareness comes the self-knowledge. And out of self-knowledge we can grow, we get the self-growth and we get the self-healing. So this is the wonderful path that we unleash ourselves on if we pursue self-knowledge. So, what is self-knowledge? Firstly, I would say it's the key to self-development. And I once read that there's a $1 billion industry in self-development books and spiritual channels and podcasts and YouTube channels and all kinds of things. So that's an awful lot of money being spent by people clearly wanting to develop themselves. And in great part, in my view, it's because we lack self-knowledge, and our lack of self-knowledge is because of our useless, almost worse than nothing school system. I'm not talking about that here. So we could define self-knowledge is the understanding of who you are. And by extension, it's the understanding of all humans and the ecosystems of our planet that we operate in. Because we're not living in a vacuum, there's no black holes. You, me, despite what we have been conditioned to think, we are not separate, we are not disconnected, we are very much connected. So if we want to learn who we are, we have to learn who we are in conjunction with everything around us. So by pursuing self-knowledge, we're actually pursuing knowledge. And I did say it was the understanding of who you are. This is crucial, because in the schools they just teach knowledge and you learn it by rote, and then once you've had the test you tend to forget it. But an understanding is not something we forget. Understanding is a process and a progress. So I would say self-knowledge applies to the fact that we are two things. We can see ourselves as the sum of two things, many sums, but sum of two things. Number one, you are a living, ever-changing organism. And number two, you're a structure. And what does that mean? The first one, a living, ever-changing organism. Well, as a human being, we have thoughts, feelings, emotions, habits, traits, tendencies, behaviours, actions, desires, fears, and potential. As a structure, you are a skin-covered living organism. There you go. What's inside you? Do you know what's inside you? In my book, Menu for a Spiritual Revolution, I actually have a formula for life. It's 3DH, 5DL, and we're more concerned with the 5DL here in terms of the structure. But the 3DH stands for 3 dimensions of health, which is your physical health, your psychological health, and your spiritual health in the heart. The 5DL, and I'm not going to go into it completely today, but the 5DL is 5 dimensions of life, and that is your body, your mind, your soul, and the whole world out there. So there's 3 dimensions inside you, interconnecting and interfaced by your skin with the external environment around you. Now the astute amongst you will realise that only comes to 4. And the thing is, in my book, to understand life better, I actually separate our mind into 2 minds, and I call it the ego mind and the intelligence mind. But we'll cover that another day, or just buy my book and learn about it all. So the crucial understanding that comes out of that we are a 5DL or a 4DL or whatever, is that we are interconnected. We are not separate. Now, subconsciously, and therefore something you may not have reflected upon, because sub is below our conscious, we've all been brainwashed or conditioned or programmed to think, without thinking, that we're separate entities, that you are you, I am me, the world is the world out there, and we're not the same thing. But we are. We're all interconnected. It's obvious with the world. I mean, you need air from the world, you need oxygen, you need water, you need food. Without it, you have no life. So you are interdependent and interconnected with the world out there. Because we have our body and our mind and our soul inside our skin, which connects with everything out there, if we don't really understand how our body works and how our mind works and what our soul is and how we can experience it, we don't know who we are. Or to the extent that we are ignorant of what's inside our skin, that's our ignorance level of who we are. And if we start to learn about the body, the mind and the soul, then we start to learn about who we are. And if we know who we are, we start to live in resonance and in harmony with the outside world. So the crucial thing, and self-knowledge, when you gain your self-knowledge, and we'll come into how you do that in a minute, but the self-knowledge allows you to know who you are, and in that way we develop our inner authority. Now this is a term I've never heard, but I'm beginning to use it a lot. We all know about external authority. Everybody out there knows, you know, we go to the government, we go to the media, we go to the scientists, we go to the medical people, the doctors, and we ask them to tell us how to live. But look where we've got. Look what happened in 2020. The whole world's gone mad. So we can't rely upon it, all the experts outside there. We can no longer defer to external authority as we have done in the past. Not to get rid of it, but we need inner authority. That's what we need now. We need to start taking responsibility for our own life, and this is self-knowledge. So, and when we develop inner authority, we will optimize our own being, and if we're optimized in feeling healthy, we are going to have healthier relationships with the people we love, the people we care for, and strangers and all humans. The reason there's so much conflict in the world is that there's conflict inside of us because we don't know what's inside of us. So self-knowledge, how to get it? Well, there's 2 key ways, and bearing in mind this is self-knowledge, so it's the knowledge of ourself, and remember we're talking about the understanding, and an understanding is never fixed. As we progress through life, our understanding may change, it may stay the same, but we're always pursuing ever greater understanding. Now, the first way to get self-knowledge is using the tool that I call the OAR, which is OAR. It's another acronym. And if you imagine you're in the boat and you're going down the river of life and you're rowing, there we go, we're rowing, using our oar to make progress. OAR stands for observation, awareness and reflection. And I talked about reflection in self-journaling and in self-inquiry, that reflection is when we sit down and think about what we're experiencing in the world, what's happening to us and why it might be happening. But we can't reflect on something we haven't seen, and that's where your observation comes in. Observation is using our senses outside of us to allow the world to come inside our mind, and then we discern what it means. There's a little phrase I use in terms of gathering knowledge and self-knowledge, and it's this. I have lots of insects flying around me. It's this. Observe others and learn about yourself. Observe yourself and learn about others. It's two-way, because we're all very similar, and in some parts of life we're the same. The soul and the consciousness is the same. So a very good way to learn about yourself is to observe others and to observe yourself. Now this takes some practice, but you just have to be conscious of what you're observing when you're looking at others. But when you observe yourself, what are you doing? Well, this is perhaps for another day, but in effect you're observing your thoughts inside your head. Now that'll take some practice, but you just sit down. The way to observe your thoughts, perhaps, try this: sit down in a comfortable place, no distractions, no phones or anything, and just sit down and tell yourself, I'm going to sit here for 5 minutes without thinking. You won't even get to, you'll be lucky to do 5 seconds without thinking. But you're telling yourself you're not going to think, but you will see thoughts coming into your head. So that's what I mean about observing yourself. Observe those thoughts. And what we do when we observe, we have awareness. The awareness is the state of mind that says, I'm open for business. So if you're observing people out there, you're listening to them, and you're watching them in the main. But if you're observing yourself, you have to watch your own thinking, and you have to watch your own mind. This is why I separated the mind into 2 minds in my book. So that's our direct tool for our own learning of the world, through our own experience and our own observations and our own reflections. Now the other way is the more traditional way, is when we learn from other people. So we read the books, we watch videos, we listen to people. In short, you listen and read. Research as well. Now, because we've been so poorly educated in schools, most of us don't listen for understanding. We listen to see if it fits our predetermined or previous understanding of how the world works. So we're always trying to think if something's right or wrong, or if it's bad or good. Now this is not observation. Observation is not to decide if it's bad or good, or right or wrong. It's to what can we see. Now if you're listening to somebody, or you're watching somebody, or you're reading what somebody's written, if you have the mindset that says, I want to understand what they're communicating, this changes everything. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. It doesn't matter if we think that they're a bad person or a good person. It's irrelevant. What's relevant is what is our understanding, and what we do is we say, what is it that they're trying to communicate to me? Let me understand that, and then I'm going to reflect and discern and think, well, does it fit with what I understand? No, why, and so on. So the mindset is crucial. Now let's finish off with the benefits of self-knowledge. Don't really need to spell them out, do I? The more we understand ourselves, the more we're going to understand other people. As I said, observe others and learn about yourself. Observe yourself and learn about others. And the other thing I said was that we're all interconnected. And I've said in one of my other videos that if we harm other people, we're harming ourselves, because we're interconnected. And if I harm myself, I'm actually harming you. So the more we get to understand ourselves, the more we will be gentle with ourselves, we'll be kinder, we'll have more empathy, we'll feel more peaceful. We may start feeling a love, because we're just a fragile little being. We're here for a few years and then we're gone. This planet's been here for billions of years. So I think with self-knowledge, all these, we start to respect ourselves, and we start to love ourselves, and we will come on. In fact, where are we now? KL. The next one's self-love, which is what it's all about. Because if you can love yourself, then you can love other people, and the trees, and the nature, and the birds. And I think that the more empathy and compassion and kindness we have towards ourselves, the more we can offer other people, and we become kinder, gentler, more empathic, more compassionate, more peaceful, less reactive and less conflictive, if that's a word. You know, this is really crucial, because being human, as we all especially know now, is not particularly easy sometimes. It's a bit of a challenge, yet it's just a stunningly beautiful world. So I think with the more self-knowledge, the more compassionate we become, the more we're going to communicate and get on and have camaraderie with other people, cooperate, collaborate, all these other things. And then being human becomes easier. And when it's easier, we can do more things. We produce more, we create more. We gain more self-belief, which we looked at before, self-confidence. We become more determined. So all the previous selves, and if you haven't seen them, if you've just suddenly arrived at self-knowledge, go back and see the other ones, because I've done A through to K so far. And the next one will be L for love, self-love. Anything that makes being human easier and more fun and more rewarding and easier to understand makes our life better. And I'm sure you will agree with me that optimizing our life is a very good pursuit. That's it for self-knowledge. Learn from yourself by observing with awareness, and then spending time to reflect, usually once a day or at least a couple of times a week, and learn by reading what others have to say, and listening to what they have to say, and listening and reading to gain understanding of what they are trying to communicate. Not do we agree or disagree with them. That may come later, but that's only in pursuit of understanding. So there you go, that's how we gain self-knowledge, and when we have self-knowledge we get knowledge of the world, and then everything's easier. Next time, self-love. Meanwhile, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're going to have a good day. Have you started your journaling yet? If you've seen my J video, if not, have a look at the J video, because this is your ultimate reflection tool. Don't start tomorrow, start today. Tomorrow's just another today anyway. If you want tomorrow to be good, make today good. Don't put it off till tomorrow. Can you hear the birds? It's middle afternoon in the bucolic backwaters of Chiang Mai. And I'm observing the bird song. Beautiful. Subscribe to my channel. Please do comment and tell me what you think of the videos, or ask questions, and like it. Help me grow the channel. Next year is the year that I'm going to burst upon the world. 2023. I've been building for 2 years. I'm bored with building. It's time for action. See you next time.